the cherry tree that never gave up. In a peaceful village nestled between rolling green hills and a shimmering river, there stood an ancient cherry tree. Its thick, gnarled trunk had witnessed centuries of history, and its wide branches stretched like welcoming arms over the town square. Every spring, as if by magic, the tree would explode into a breathtaking display of pink blossoms, filling the air with their sweet fragrance. The villagers treasured the tree. It was more than just a source of beauty. It was a part of their lives, a silent guardian that had stood watch over their ancestors. Generations had gathered beneath its blossoms to celebrate Hanami, spreading picnic blankets beneath its shade, sharing food, laughter, and stories. Children would chase each other around its roots, young couples would carve their initials into its bark, and elders would sit quietly, remembering the many springs they had seen under its petals. The village elders often spoke of the legend surrounding the tree's origin. Centuries ago, they said, a kind-hearted samurai had planted the sapling after a long and difficult war. Wishing for peace and prosperity for the village, he tended to it with great care, believing that as long as the tree stood, harmony would remain. Over time, the tree grew strong and the village flourished. It was said that the cherry blossoms carried the samurai's wish into the wind each spring, blessing the people with hope and unity. The storm that changed everything. But one year something terrible happened. Late in the summer, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The villagers, used to the occasional storm, prepared their homes as usual. But this was no ordinary storm. It was a typhoon stronger than anything they had seen before. The wind roared like an angry beast, shaking the houses, tearing shingles from rooftops, and uprooting smaller trees. The river swelled with rain, flooding the rice fields. The villagers huddled inside their homes, praying for the safety of their families and their beloved village. All night, the storm raged, howling through the streets and lashing against the cherry tree with unrelenting force. When the sun finally rose, the village was left in ruins. Homes were damaged, fields were flooded, and in the middle of the square stood their beloved cherry tree, broken and battered. Many of its strong branches had been torn away, its bark was stripped in places, and a deep, jagged crack ran down its trunk. The once proud tree now looked fragile, as if one more strong wind would send it toppling to the ground. The villagers were devastated. Perhaps it's time to cut it down, some murmured. It won't bloom again. Others averted their eyes when they passed by, unable to bear the sight of the once magnificent tree in such a state. Some younger villagers suggested planting a new cherry tree in its place, one that would grow fresh and strong. But an old gardener named Sora refused to give up. The man who believed. Sora had spent his entire life tending to the village gardens. He had planted the plum trees by the river, cared for the bamboo grove near the temple, and tended to the rice paddies that provided food for the village. But above all, he had cared for the cherry tree. As a boy, he had played beneath its branches, climbing its trunk and watching the petals fall like pink snow in the breeze. As a young man, he had sat beneath it with his wife, dreaming of their future together. Now as an old man, he could not imagine the village without it. This tree has stood for centuries, Sora said firmly. It has survived wars, fires, and other storms. It has given us shade in the summer, beauty in the spring, and comfort in times of sorrow. If we take care of it, perhaps it will find the strength to bloom again. At first, the villagers were skeptical. The tree looked too damaged, too weak. But Sora was determined. Every morning before the sun rose, he came to the square to care for the tree. He trimmed away dead branches, carefully treating the exposed wounds with natural remedies made from tree sap and herbs. He brought fresh soil and fertilizer to nourish its roots. He protected its base from insects and wrapped its trunk in cloth during cold nights. More than that, he spoke to the tree. "You've been with us for so long," he whispered. "You've seen this village grow, seen generations come and go. We still need you. Don't give up yet." For weeks nothing changed. The tree stood silent, its bare branches reaching toward the sky like outstretched fingers. Some villagers shook their heads, telling Sora he was wasting his time. "It's too late," they said. "The tree is gone." But little by little, something unexpected happened. A village united. A young boy named Ran, who had often played beneath the tree, started bringing buckets of water to its roots. Inspired by Sora's dedication, a group of children followed suit, forming a small team that helped care for the tree every morning. An elderly woman, who remembered swinging from its branches as a child, brought nutrient-rich compost from her garden. A carpenter, moved by the sight of Sora's quiet determination, carved wooden supports to brace the cracked trunk, helping the tree stand a little taller. Slowly, the entire village came together. The tree, once seen as beyond saving, had become a symbol of their resilience. Through the autumn and winter, they cared for it, protecting it from the bitter cold. Even in the harshest months, when snow covered the ground, the villagers continued their efforts, believing in the tree just as they believed in one another. Then, as the last frost melted away and spring arrived, something miraculous happened. The blossoms of hope. One morning, Sora arrived at the square and saw something he had almost stopped daring to hope for. Tiny pink buds dotted the tree's branches. His heart pounded as he rushed to call the villagers. One by one they came, their eyes widening in astonishment. The buds grew, swelling with life until at last, the tree exploded into full bloom. A wave of pink petals fluttered in the breeze, dancing through the air like joyful spirits. The villagers wept with happiness, standing beneath the cherry blossoms that they had feared would never return. The tree had survived. Against all odds it had endured. That spring, Hanami felt more meaningful than ever before. As they picnicked beneath the blossoms, the villagers realized that the tree had taught them a great lesson. Not just about survival, but about resilience, patience, and the power of unity. The cherry tree was more than just a tree. It was a symbol of their village's spirit. And so year after year, the cherry tree continued to bloom. Its blossoms became more than just a sign of spring. They became a reminder that no matter how strong the storm, no matter how great the damage, with care, determination, and belief, even the most broken things can find the strength to stand again. And in the gentle breeze that carried the scent of cherry blossoms across the village, it was as if the tree itself whispered its message. Never give up. Stand tall. And bloom again.